And again, there may be something now as we are going on the air, because at 5 o'clock, I believe it's 5 o'clock Eastern time. It could be 5 o'clock Arizona time. I'm not sure. We would need to check on that. That there would be a new deadline. So that's what he said at a news conference today. Still no suspects. Mrs. Guthrie is 84 years old. She was reported missing on Sunday afternoon from her home outside of Tucson, Arizona, after she did not show up at church. She was last seen around 9:45 p.m. the previous day when family members dropped her off at home. Authorities have offered a timeline of the night that Guthrie disappeared, noting that her doorbell camera was disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Sunday, and that software in the home detected a person on camera at 2:12 a.m., but no video is available. And so there are reports that indicate that a ransom note or ransom notes have been sent to 3 news outlets referencing Guthrie. NBC News has not seen copies of them, and no law enforcement agency has substantiated the reports. That's important because she does work for NBC News, which owns the Today Show, which runs the Today Show. The FBI is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to either the recovery of Nancy Guthrie or the arrest of anyone involved in her disappearance. Now, her family, including Savannah Guthrie, put out a heart-wrenching video, a plea for the person to return her mother and telling her mother to stay strong. Okay, this is agonizing to watch, but here it is.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day. Despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief, we are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
I don't know what to say. I can't imagine being in that situation. And my heart goes out to that family. 84-year-old mom, and they don't know what is happening. I'm going to show you the video of, there was some breaking news that I want to show you, but according to TMZ, reveals that the threat made Savannah Guthrie's mom, Nancy's ransom note, if the deadline isn't met, and dire warning about a second. So there is a deadline, a first deadline in the purported ransom note for Nancy Guthrie's return that it would trigger, if it's missed, a change in demand. That's according to TMZ, who received a copy of this letter. TMZ reported on it moments ago. We're going to have Charles from TMZ on in a moment to discuss with us exactly what is going on. But this is what TMZ is reporting.
Listen, something just happened, and it's something we had not discussed publicly from the letter, but they just revealed it. Remember, we said a deadline is looming. Well, they announced the first deadline. Remember, we said there are two.
Right.
The first deadline is today at 5 p.m. because they were asked, why did Savannah come out and do this when she did?
Right.
And
it's roughly 24 hours before.
And we assumed that when we were working this morning.
Right.
But 5 p.m. was the deadline. There is a second deadline. We're not going to say now why there's a second deadline, but something is supposed to change if they don't pay the money by the first deadline, but the second deadline is much more important.
Right.
Adriana has an update.
Oh, is there update?
They just said second demand for next Monday, so they did.
Oh, they did.
So they,
Okay.
there you have it.
He didn't at first, and
Oh,
now
what?
I think someone else asked a question.
Okay.
He said,
So pause, please.
Okay.
So this is in the middle of they're doing a live break. They do a live breaking show. And what they're doing, just explain to you what's happening. They do a live show that is run on digital, much like this show. And then for their TV show, they do pickups so that they can edit it so that for the tape show, it can go off seamlessly. But they're getting this breaking news. And as they're getting this breaking news, there is another part of the breaking news that they have to add to it. There's a second deadline. Okay. And so here they are.
Can I?
So we're going to do a pickup.
Why didn't we?
Yeah, we'll do the whole thing. So the FBI just revealed some things about the letter we received that we have not talked about yet. We mentioned that a deadline is looming. They have now said the deadline. It was today at 5 p.m.
Which made it clear, as we were discussing this morning, why did they wait? Why did they do this video, Savannah and her siblings, yesterday? And it, as we suspected, is because of that deadline. It was about 24 hours before it that they dropped that video.
Right, and there's a second deadline, and that second deadline is Monday. They've just announced that as well. I will say we're not going to say what gets triggered on each deadline, but the first one, the demands change.
The demands change.
And the second one is much more serious.
So there you heard it. The second one is much more serious. And so Charles will hopefully reveal some of that information as he joins us in just moments. But, reading from the story that has been up on TMZ, it is saying that they are revealing a threat made in the Savannah Guthrie's Nancy's ransom note if the first deadline isn't met, and a dire warning about the second deadline, which I believe is on Sunday. So the first deadline is the purported ransom note for Nancy Guthrie. her return, it would trigger. If missed, a second deadline, a second demand, according to TMZ, who received a copy of the letter. Now, law enforcement officials in Pima County confirmed a Thursday press conference that the note made a demand for 5 p.m. local time, so which is Arizona, which would be Mountain Time, I believe. And so it would be 3:12 there. And that's local time in the second demand. And that's set for February 9th. That's Monday. Now, TMZ is one of the outlets that obtained the ransom note demanding millions of dollars in Bitcoin for Nancy's safe return, reported that the demand would change if Thursday's deadline isn't met. So the Bitcoin bit is because it's hard to trace. And the money would be marked, or if they had to send it to a bank of some sort, they would be traceable. But because of the nature of this digital currency, it is hard to trace. If the supposed ransom isn't fulfilled by Monday, then there will be a more serious consequence, the outlet reported, citing the note. The letter also highlighted insider details about Nancy's suspected abduction, including about her Apple Watch and a floodlight at her $1 million Tucson home. The note, though, didn't list any means of contact with its authors, but it did include a real address where the ransom could be deposited. Man, this is awful. What kind of animal does something like this? Police still have not said whether they believe the note is real or a fraud. Authorities are taking the note seriously, but admitted there's an absolute possibility that Nancy's disappearance has nothing to do with the ransom note. Reporters with TMZ confirmed that they made an agreement with the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Office to not disclose certain details from the notes for the sake of the investigation. The outlet claimed that authorities are taking the ransom note seriously, in part due to certain unspecified characteristics that led them to believe these people are serious and they actually do have Nancy. Nancy, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, was reported missing on Sunday after she missed morning mass at her local church. The people you saw in that video, the pleading video, was Savannah and her siblings, Annie and Cameron. That heart-wrenching video they shared Wednesday evening came out last night, telling the suspected abductors that they are ready to talk, but only once they know that their mother is alive. And you saw in the note, they said, we live in this age where it's easy to manipulate images, and we want to make sure they need basically what is called proof of life in this situation. These situations are tough, and you don't know how they're going to end. I certainly pray and hope for the best for Nancy Guthrie and Savannah and her entire family, Annie and Cameron, but this is awful. This is awful. And I don't know what kind of world we're living in where people would do this. But again, they are saying, as the investigators are saying, this could have nothing to do with it. They're not sure. But as we showed you the timeline, Andy, if you will put the timeline up for this is the number they want you to call, 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI, or Pima County Sheriff's Department, or DEPT. If you want to call the Pima County Sheriff's Department, call 520-351-4900, or you can just dial 911. So there are two deadlines here. Andy, let's put up the timeline that you have. I believe you have a timeline. There it is. So the timeline for here, as we await Charles Lataboudier, who is the producer, I believe one of the executive producers at TMZ. 5:32, Nancy Guthrie travels to local family's home. 9:48 p.m. This is on January 31st. Family drops Guthrie off at home and garage door opens. 9:50, garage door closes. 1:47 a.m., doorbell camera disconnects. 2:12 a.m., software detects person on camera. 2:28 a.m., pacemaker app shows disconnect from phone. 11:56 a.m., family checks on Guthrie. 12:03 p.m., 9/11 call to Pima County Sheriff's Department, and then 12:15 p.m. patrol arrives. So this happened very quickly. And if this is, and look, these folks may not have anything to do with it, what they're saying, the person who's giving the ransom, perhaps they just want money. But if her doorbell camera disconnects and the software detects a person on camera, problematic. This may not be the people who did it with the ransom note, but something obviously nefarious has happened, because the doorbell cameras just don't go offline like that and disconnects. The software wouldn't detect a person on camera. And if that was if they knew, it would say Nancy Guthrie on camera. So that is where we are right now. And again, we're awaiting Charles from TMZ to discuss. And I believe Charles is on with us now.
I'm here, Don.
Charles, so
Can you hear
thank
me?
you for joining us. Yeah, I can hear you, absolutely.
Yeah.
So there is a 5 o'clock deadline, and that is Arizona time for the ransom, correct? And then another one on Monday.
Yeah.
So Arizona, it's 3 o'clock, 3:18 in Arizona now, correct?
Right. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're on Mountain Time. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but go on. So what's the latest? Tell us, Charles.
Mountain Standard Time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the latest is that deadline. You know, it was interesting to see the FBI, for whatever reason, the FBI and the Sheriff's Department decided that they were going to put a lot more information out there today, not just the timeline, which I heard you going through, Don, is very interesting to know almost a minute when Nancy would have been taken from her home. As to what you were talking about, whether whoever went into her house that night and took her are the same people behind this alleged ransom note, the one thing I will say is it is very clear that the police are taking that ransom note, at least treating it as if it is real. Whether they've absolutely confirmed that, they are treating it as if it is real, because it's not a coincidence. I think that 24 hours before the deadline, you saw Savannah and her brother and sister making that plea to the abductors, because they have no way of communicating with the abductors. And, you know, they need them to know, look, we're willing to talk, but and I would imagine they're even considering paying the ransom, but they want some proof of life to know that their mother is okay. All that makes sense.
Charles, if I can just jump in, I hate to cut you off, but
yeah.
I don't know if you know about this because you're here in front of the camera, but you guys just put up a story just before we came on that says Nancy Guthrie's abduction. Feds arrest man who allegedly texted family about Bitcoin. Do you know about that yet? Because
This
sometimes when
is
you're
the
in the
guy
newsroom,
that
you don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, this
Okay.
this is the what we have here, I believe, are the details of the arrest. This is, they referred to, there's someone they arrested early this morning who basically sent in a hoax.
Okay.
A hoax, like, has made it seem like they were behind the ransom, they were behind the abduction, and said they wanted a certain amount of Bitcoin. And police determined that this is a complete hoax, and that person is now arrested and is going to face, you know, the full extent of the law for what is clearly not a funny joke. And I don't even think they were doing it for fun. Clearly, they were just trying to make a buck here. But police determined that this person is not connected to the abduction. And that's why I think, and they made it clear that this person they arrested and the note that they sent is not the same as the one that came into our newsroom and as well into the local outlet in Tucson. So, and we know that it's the same notes. The one that we got and the one they got in Tucson at the TV station there is the exact same note. And it referenced, as the police revealed today, the deadline today at 5 and then another deadline on Monday. The other thing that was in the note that we have known obviously for a few days but did not reveal, because we'd had conversations with the FBI and the Sheriff's Department about things they didn't want out. But today they revealed that the two things the alleged abductors here, the writers of this note, included to make sure that the authorities and the family knew they were legit, were referencing these two items in the house: Nancy's white smartwatch, and also that there was a shattered floodlight in the backyard. And there is more in the note that they did not reveal about other things around the house, so we're not going to say at this point, but it does seem to me that they are at least treating it as if this is real, which certainly ups the stakes here for the family, and is a really scary time right now.
Thank you for answering that, and sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
So, look, I would be in the same position. I would want the same thing, proof of life. Do you know where they are on that? And is that part of the ransom note? Are they agreeing to that with this deadline? Do you know?
This is the really scary part I think, for Savannah and her family is, that ransom. Let's assume that it is the ransom note that was sent out is legit, and the people who took Nancy are behind this. They did not send it directly to Savannah or her family, and we have no way of getting in touch with it came into our tip email system, and I know the same thing happened for the local station in Tucson. There's no way for us to backtrace this and get in touch with the sender. We certainly gave the FBI and the Sheriff's Department all the information we have that's available that came in, but that's, not enough to, at least it wasn't for us. I can't speak to what the FBI can do, but without that, there's no way to get in touch with them. So really, they're hoping that by putting that video out there, by having this news conference this morning where they lay more information out there, that is going to prompt the abductors to work with them, to send the proof of life, or to send something that lets them know that that Nancy is still okay, that she is still alive.
Charles, you have been doing this for a long time. Harvey has been doing this for a long time, and this is the whole idea of kidnapping seems like something of the past, right?
It really does, doesn't it?
I mean, and all that. Yeah.
Right. I was trying to remember the last time we've had a high-profile
baby
kidnapping. Well, I wasn't around for that one, but Harvey might have been. And listen, it has been a very long time since we've had a high-profile kidnapping like this, and you heard not only in Savannah and her siblings' video, but also the FBI today pointed out something, which is we haven't had one of these in the age of deep fakes. So
right.
There's an additional problem that if they do get this proof of life that they're requesting, how are they going to be able to authenticate it? That is a serious concern, but I think, look, they'd rather get something and then try to figure that out than to get nothing.
How are you feeling about this?
Early this morning, I was feeling a little hopeful, and I think there is still reason for hope, right? Because the fact that the FBI, I'm sure the FBI worked with Savannah and her siblings to talk about what to say in the video that they released, and the fact that they said, you should go ahead and do this, that means that they believe Nancy is still alive. And you heard the sheriff say that today, that we are operating on the belief that Nancy is still alive. And now that it's been revealed that there is a second deadline on Monday, that means that right now, Nancy is okay. That's what the abductors are, at least, that's the message they're sending to the family, that we want, we have a deadline. If you don't meet that, well, now the terms change for Monday, but at least you have some more time. And obviously the authorities are looking at this as, we have this weekend, right? We've got the rest of today, we've got Friday, we've got the weekend, and we've got Monday to try and figure this out. Or the other way that this could go, Don, is that they pay the ransom and they return Nancy.
right? Like,
A Hawthorne man is facing federal charges in a fraudulent ransom scheme tied to the high-profile disappearance of NBC's Savannah Guthrie's mother. It's a story, of course, everyone has been following. Prosecutors say Derrick Callella demanded Bitcoin from the Guthrie family after 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie went missing from her Arizona home. The FBI actually arrested Callella in Hawthorne today. The investigation moved quickly. The search for Guthrie is now entering day 5. Tonight, investigators say no one's been ruled out as a suspect. The Pima County Sheriff says there are still no suspects identified, though, and now a new plea from the Guthrie family just within the past hour.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Fox's Sarah Legre live in Tucson, Arizona with the latest on this mystery. Sarah?
Well, Phil, earlier today we heard from FBI investigators, and they mentioned some new details about that ransom note that was shared with television stations earlier this week. Inside of it, a 5 p.m. deadline for today. That is the same time that Savannah Guthrie posted that new video on Instagram, this time of Cameron Guthrie, as you just heard, telling their mother's captors, "We want to talk." As the search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie enters another day Thursday, authorities speaking directly to whoever is responsible for her disappearance, calling for immediate action.
You still have the time to do the right thing before this becomes a much worse scenario for you.
The FBI has announced a $50,000 reward for any information leading to Nancy's safe return or the arrest of anyone involved. Nancy was last seen at her Tucson home just before 10 Saturday night after dinner with family. Early Sunday morning, a doorbell camera disconnected at 1:47. Minutes later, software detected someone on camera, but there's no video. By 2:28, Nancy's pacemaker app disconnected from her phone. Sheriff Nano says that there's no way to recover that video because there's no subscription for the camera.
They've run out of ways to recover any video.
All of this comes after Guthrie's children released an emotional video Wednesday, pleading for their mother's safe return and asking for proof of life.
We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
Police also addressed ransom notes that have been sent to the local and national media. One of the notes set a deadline for 5 p.m. Thursday. If not met, another deadline was set for Monday.
Any action taken on any ransom is ultimately decided by the family.
And Phil, as you noted earlier, they've arrested the Los Angeles County man for sending fake ransom texts to the Guthrie family demanding Bitcoin payments. But investigators, they wanted to make it clear at this point there's no direct line or direct link, rather, between those messages along with the ransom notes that were passed along to TV stations earlier this week. Phil, back to you.
Sarah, is any updates from law enforcement or the FBI or the sheriff scheduled, or is that going to depend on events?
Yeah, so earlier today we heard from Pima County Sheriff's Department. They said at this point they're not going to hold any more organized briefings, but they said when it calls for it, they're going to schedule a press conference as soon as possible when they have significant developments. What that means, we're unsure of at this point, but I know we are in close contact, close communication with them, waiting for any news regarding Nancy Guthrie's safe return home to her family.
All right, Sarah, thanks. Obviously, we're all staying on top of this one.
Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today, I'll offer an update on the case of Nancy Guthrie. First, I'll look at a brief background of the case, move to an updated timeline of the crime, then offer an updated analysis. Nancy Guthrie is the mother of
Tonight, a Southern California man is facing federal charges after investigators say he sent ransom demands connected to the disappearance of the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. Fox 11's Laura Diaz is live in Torrance with this twist tonight. Laura?
Yes, Marla. According to prosecutors, they say that the suspect in this case admitted to making the phone demand just to see if he could get a response. But no matter how you look at it, it's just the latest chapter of anguish for the Guthrie family.
Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom.
That's Savannah Guthrie's brother, Cameron, in an emotional post today, pleading with whoever took his mother, Nancy. In addition to the devastating disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy, the Guthrie family is dealing with cruel hoaxers. We learned this Thursday that a South Bay man, Derrick Callella, believed to be in his 40s, was arrested here for allegedly sending a phony ransom demand to Savannah's sister and brother-in-law. This Thursday, we spoke to Callalla's parents who live in this Torrance house. They declined to do an on-camera interview, but they told me while they really didn't know anything, they are, of course, concerned for their son. This federal complaint filed in Arizona lays out the details. The phony demand was sent by text message using a prepaid burner phone. It said, "Did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on our end for the transaction." But apparently Callella didn't cover his tracks. He was discovered by investigators through his email address. Also, there's another apparent Southland connection. Tonight, Fox 11 has confirmed Callella is the same man charged by the LA County DA with stealing nearly $10,000 in state unemployment benefits last fall. Callella is due downtown tomorrow in a courtroom on those ransom charges. Sending it back to you, Marla.
So I know you had interaction with Callalla's parents tonight. Do we know where Callella himself actually resides?
It's my understanding that it's somewhere else in the South Bay. I know there were some reports, possibly Hawthorne. His parents were not forthcoming. They were actually very polite to me, but said you would have to speak to his wife about any more knowledge of this. But as any parent would say, they were concerned for their son. But when I went up and down the street trying to talk to people who live in this neighborhood, they didn't know who he was. They had never heard of him. But that would, of course, be explained by the fact that it was the parents who live here, not the actual suspect.
Right. Okay. We'll follow up tomorrow when he's in court. Laura, thanks so much.
You get tips on everything. Okay, you're TMZ, so you have tips coming in all the time. So when this one came in, and as you look at it now, was there anything about how it came in or anything about it, this letter, this ransom letter, that was unusual to you?
It felt like somebody means business. I mean, when you read it, it's very detailed. This person thought through, I believe, again, if it's legit, this person thought through the markers of showing that it's real. The Bitcoin address, we checked immediately, and it's a real address. The FBI mentioned at the news conference today something that we had seen, where they mentioned the Apple Watch and the floodlight. And that was what really put my antenna up, and we immediately called the sheriff because that's what we could say to him, which is, you know, here are these two items they're mentioning. Does this make you interested in it? I will say this, that they do mention an Apple Watch, as the FBI said, and they do mention the floodlight, the damaged floodlight. There is something else, and it is the placement of the Apple Watch, which has not come out. And if that placement is accurate, I'm sure that is something that puts this letter on the FBI's radar.
Oh, okay. So you're saying not just that there was an Apple Watch, which I am aware, was in that letter before any reporting, when you got the letter, before any reporting on the Apple Watch came out, right? So it wasn't as if they saw the reporting and put it in there. But you're saying it talked about a specific location. So if that turns out to be accurate, obviously, that says a lot. Right. Harvey, as you and I are sitting here,
and that's, look, we called the sheriff immediately and gave them the letter. And then a couple hours later, we got a call from the FBI, and they had a lot of questions about this. And I think that placement of the Apple Watch, if this is true, is something where they would immediately take this seriously.
All right, Harvey, I don't know if you got a alert or anything on this, but I haven't seen it and you haven't seen it. I don't believe. Just was posted on Instagram by Savannah, another video with her and her brother, I understand. So let's just both watch it here for the first time. Just her. Let me play it.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
So that was her brother, Harvey, Savannah's brother. She just posted that, Cameron, her brother. All right, so Harvey, what he just said there.
I can give you some context.
Yeah,
to
go
that.
ahead.
So they are pleading for this person to come forward if it indeed is the person behind this letter. The letter says, you will have no way of contacting me. This is the only contact. So that's why they're pleading for proof of life. That's why they are begging, because they have no idea how to get in touch with this person. They went to great lengths in sending this email to us in making sure that it stays anonymous. I don't know that the FBI is at all close to figuring out where it came from. My guess is they haven't, based on what our IT team has done here. So I don't think they know who sent it. And the person who sent it says, this is going to be the only contact, and you have no way of getting in touch with me. So they made that clear. That's why I believe that they are begging for this, because they have absolutely no avenue to make contact.
All right. So, but that's really crucial what you just said, Harvey. You're saying in the letter it says this will be the only contact. And it sounds like from what Cameron's saying, which echoes what they said last night, which is they haven't had contact. We have heard from no one, is what he says, as Savannah had said. And we want a proof of life. I mean, they're asking for the very basic proof that you have our mother and that she's alive. But it sounds like from what he's saying, Harvey, is that if this letter is legitimate, and I know we're going to keep saying that, it's important to say it. But if so, it means that the sender's doing exactly what they said they were going to do. They sent the letter and that's it.
They began the letter. I don't think I'm giving anything away here. They began the letter by saying that that Nancy is okay but scared. So they say she is okay, and also that she's aware of the letter and the demands.
That Nancy Guthrie herself is aware of it.
Yes.
So Harvey, then what else are you hearing at this point? I mean, given that letter was sent to you. I mean, have you heard anything else? But what else are you learning?
So there's something in the letter, and Aaron, I just want to make this really clear that this is just my opinion, just based on analyzing it, that my sense, and Charles in my office, we've talked about this at length today. My sense is whoever sent this letter is based in the Tucson area. And I say that because of a reference made in the letter, a sentence in the letter. It feels to me, reading it, that this is Tucson based. And I think that's a fair analysis based on, my discussions today in the office and just reading this letter. So this doesn't feel like this is somebody out of state or out of the country who hatched this plan. It feels more localized. And I'll underscore that by saying that the other outlet that received this letter is a local outlet in Tucson. And think about that. Why would they do that? Why would they know that station if they weren't Tucson based? I think this is something that was hatched by somebody in that area based on the read of this letter.
All right, Harvey, since you're here, stay with me because you mentioned that local station. And I happen to have Mary Coleman, who's with KOLD 13, with us now. So let me just bring her in here. Mary, I know you could hear Harvey talking about this, and I'll play again in just a moment. Cameron Guthrie, Savannah's brother, what he just said. But, I wanted to give you a chance to respond to what Harvey just said. He's saying that, because you've seen this letter as well, that he felt from something in it that made him think that the person who wrote it is in the Tucson area, knows the Tucson area. Obviously, you live there. This is your home. Do you also share that view?
I understand what he's saying after reading the letter over and over again about referencing the fact that it may be someone local. It certainly can, but you know, aside from a couple of words in the letter, I don't know. You know, I don't want to speculate that it's not someone from outside either. So really, you know, there are a lot of questions remaining, but I can definitely see how Harvey would think that it might be someone here locally in the Tucson area who might be responsible for this.
Mary, you know, Harvey was talking about the deadlines and the second one being obviously incredibly consequential. We've just passed the first deadline a few moments ago. Has your newsroom, just in the past few moments, to your knowledge, received any additional message or follow-up communication at all, Mary, since in these past minutes?
Yeah, I've been refreshing my email constantly, Aaron, to try and see if we've received anything. I have, you know, my email open right here, and we haven't received anything just yet. But, you know, all eyes are on our inboxes, as I'm sure the newsroom that Harvey runs also they're doing that, and nothing so far.
Harvey, when the FBI reached out to you, and you said they did within a couple of hours of your telling the sheriff about the ransom note after you received it, what can you share anything, you know, about what they were most interested in, or sort of the questions they were asking, or anything that might have been telling to you?
Yeah, I gave them my word I wouldn't discuss the substance of the conversation, but as you can imagine, I mean, the obvious thing they want to figure out is who wrote it, where'd it come from? And I don't want to get more specific than that because I told them I wouldn't.
Right. All right. Well, that's important, and I respect that as well. Mary, you know, from where you sit right now, what is the very latest you're hearing? I know that the sheriff is...
Kyle Vowinkle is a former FBI hostage negotiator and hostage rescue team operator. Kyle, this new video put out by The Sun, how does that strike you?
Well, as we assess what I did as a negotiator in the FBI, first off, I need to say my heart goes out to the families. This waiting, the uncertainty, and the silence is soul-crushing. I've sat in those spaces, that exact space with families, waiting to hear back from captors, and it's its own form of torture. So the fact that there's a second plea out there from the family begging for communication from the captors is not a positive sign. The fact, right, we look at the behavior of the captors. Normal kidnapping for ransoms, they want a direct private channel of communication between the families or the payers of the ransom and the kidnappers. Here, they've done the exact opposite, right? They sent, if the captors are the same ones that sent those ransom notes to the two media outlets, they want attention. They want to put pressure possibly on the family. Maybe there is an ulterior motive besides the traditional kidnapping for ransom. So it does concern me the fact there's no communication. We're past that deadline because the captor doesn't want to communicate, or they're intentionally choosing not to communicate back to the families. So why are they doing that? Maybe, I hate to say this, something happened during the kidnapping. We know of the blood spots on the entryway. I hope Mrs. Guthrie is okay, and I truly hope that we recover her safely. But that would be a reason potentially for the captor not to communicate back if there's no reason to communicate back.
Right. They would just go quiet, and that's why you're getting a second video. What's with the deadlines? The 5 o'clock deadline today and another deadline Monday. Tell us about that.
It's unique. So again, this is not traditional kidnapping for ransom, that you would not have multiple deadlines. And I have not read the ransom note. I'm only going off of, I'm retired FBI. I'm only going off publicly available information. So in that, as far as the deadlines, you don't normally have multiple deadlines. And the fact that one is passed, we ideally, right, our number one goal in kidnapping for ransoms and hostage takings is to establish a direct, secure line of communications with the captors in order to communicate, right, in order to understand their demands, assess the status of the victim, obtain proof of life, proof of authority to release the victim, and then set the dynamics in play to recover the victim. So now with no communication and a deadline passed, right, that's two potentially negative indicators now that we're seeing. And have I'd obviously love to see that note to see where there are consequences tied to each different deadline, because that can happen. Like if you don't contact us by 5 p.m., we're going to do this negative action. But the fact that there's no communication at all is worrisome to me, and the family, hopefully, out there will hear something back from the captors, or maybe the public, does see something, because the public is a valuable tool in this. And the one thing I would like to say is that, we don't want the public to investigate or confront anyone on their own, but what the public can do is they can spot behavior that's out of the ordinary, those patterns of behavior that a person is now doing. Maybe they've stockpiled food and water or purchased hygiene items, or they're not being out and about and they're restricting access to like rooms or a garage or an outhouse, or they're going there at odd times. So if the public sees, again, some patterns of behavior that are out of the normal, and maybe this person's fixated on the news, watching each and every minute, well, if that's the case and the hair on the back of their neck, the public is standing up, I would encourage you to contact the FBI or the police and let those professionals triage those potential leads.
Kyle, very informative. Thank you so much. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it any.
Late yesterday, investigators swarming Nancy Guthrie's home in a renewed search for clues in the disappearance of Savannah's mom. The multi-agency team, including FBI agents, sheriff's deputies, and a Border Patrol canine unit, entering the property behind new yellow crime scene tape. It's the first time we've seen this type of activity since the 84-year-old went missing early this week. And overnight, Savannah and her siblings, Annie and Cameron, releasing that heart-wrenching video. Two people briefed on the investigation say the FBI special agent in charge was seen at a Guthrie family home where it's believed the video was recorded. NBC News is also aware of multiple reports of ransom notes sent to news organizations. No law enforcement agency has substantiated them, but they are being investigated. NBC News has not seen the notes.
A white female, 84 years of age, 5C medium build.
Now, 5 days after this police dispatch call that started the search for Savannah's mom, authorities are also looking into what appears to be blood found outside the home, according to two senior officials briefed on the investigation. Those officials also say Guthrie's pacemaker appears to have disconnected from its monitoring app in the early morning hours on Sunday, the day she was reported missing. President Trump reaching out to Savannah on the phone Wednesday and later posting, "I am directing all federal law enforcement to be at the family's and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. We are deploying all resources to get her mother home safely." In Tucson last night, a prayer service organized by some of Savannah's longtime friends. Shelly Shamrell and Savannah bonded 30 years ago while working at Tucson's local NBC station, and she says Nancy became like a second mom to her.
She is just the most loving, kind, warm, smart person who is so revered in this community.
A family, a community, and the entire nation now praying for Nancy Guthrie's safe return.
And as the search continues, investigators are still trying to figure out if they'll be able to recover any of the video footage from those overnight hours taken from Nancy Guthrie's surveillance cameras. Google, which owns Nest Cameras, tells us that they are now assisting law enforcement in that investigation. And we do hope to get more information on all of this later today. The Pima County Sheriff's Office is expected to give another update. Craig.
Liz Court's force there in Arizona. Liz, thank you. We're joined now by Tom Winter, our national law enforcement correspondent, and NBC News law enforcement analyst Jim Kavanaugh. Good morning to both of you, gentlemen. Jim, I'll start with you. Savannah and her siblings, they put out this emotional video. SG saying, quote, "We are ready to talk. We are ready to listen." What would be the goal, Jim, in putting out a video like that? How could it potentially advance the investigation?
Well, this is the family reaching out, Craig, to the abductors and saying, look, first, let's talk about mom. Let's humanize mom. You know, she has grandchildren. They love her. Children, they love her. She's just a loving grandmother, mother. Humanize her. And the family talks about Nancy and humanizes her with the abductors because she's been just an object to the abductors, an object of their goal, which either is money or some messaging, we don't quite know yet. So that's very important. I think it was excellent they did that. They need to humanize Nancy. And they also say, we're ready to listen. Hear the family. We want to listen. We want to hear what you want. Do you want money? Do you want a message? What is it you want? Tell us. We want to listen. And they talk about, the world of manipulated voices. In other words, They know about these ransom notes. They specifically discuss it. But there's manipulated voices, so we don't know if it's really the abductors. We don't know if it's really you. So reach out to us and let us know. And then, of course, they strengthen Mom. They kind of close with strengthening Mom. We're all looking. We're all here. We're not going to give up. So there's a lot of messaging there from the family. It's very, very good.
Jim.
The abductors, Craig, just to close, they went to a lot of effort to break in, to assault Nancy, to take her away, to hide her out. They went to a whole lot of effort. And now they have to close their circle for their goal, and that is they have to communicate. So the best thing they can do, their best options, the abductors, is to release Nancy, leave her at the foot of a church somewhere, a store, or take the step to communicate to see if you can reach your goal.
Jim, really quickly, does the family putting out that video, does that then confirm the authenticity of the ransom note or ransom notes?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
In fact, I think what the family's saying is it's still a question. There's a lot of manipulated voices. This could be someone in Kathmandu saying, send Bitcoin. We don't know who that is. Okay. In other words, the kidnappers took a lot of risk to do this. They're going to have to take an additional step to communicate if they want to reach their goal. I would expect that if they've seen this, I'm sure it's been everywhere, and they may drop a letter, a snail mail package with something. And once they can make the connection and there's some proof that they are the abductors, a piece of jewelry from Nancy, some hair, a picture, a video, then the communication can happen where they try to reach their goals, whatever that is. We don't even know, but that's what's going to happen. That's what should happen, or we want to happen, either the communication or release her. Yeah. If your crime has not worked, release her. I think, just to close, I think they got too big too fast. They took Nancy, whether they knew it was Savannah's mom or not, or they just thought it was a wealthy person, or they knew it was Savannah's mom. This thing got real big real fast. And so their concern now is the communication. You know, we're concerned about, we're apprehensive about doing it. And that's their decision right now. They got to either do it or release Nancy. That's their two best options.
All right, Tom, let me bring you in here. Authorities are holding this press conference a little later this afternoon. What are we expecting to hear? And also, what are investigators focusing on right now?
Yeah, I would like to get two key things here today. The first is any new fact from the investigation that doesn't compromise it, whether it's a detail of what happened that night or, hey, we've had people calling in about this. We would like to know more about that, whatever that is that they're looking for. Perhaps an image, even if it's the most grainy image of a car that was leaving there. You look at a map, we have a map of generally of Nancy Mom's house in that neighborhood. There are intersections all over this area. We've got a highway there in green. We've got even a larger map. We're going to show you the interstates in the broader area of the Tucson. You're looking there at a key interstate that goes through there. All those major intersections, there are automated license plate readers. People hear license plate readers say, well, they're looking for a license plate. They need a specific detail. No. If somebody could call in and say, I saw that green Honda, that black Chevy Tahoe, whatever it is, they can feed that into the system. That might be very helpful as far as finding this person. The other thing that I think would be good to pick up on what Jim was saying is if there was an easy way, Savannah is talking to you now, whoever did this. She's talking with you. It would be great if they could make it easy to find a way to get that person to talk to Savannah as well. You've got an opportunity for those two to talk, for there to be a proof of life, to get to a point here where there is a dialogue. If there's a dialogue, there's hope for Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jim. And of course, we will bring you the very latest updates. NBC News will have live coverage of today's news conference from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. And again, we're asking anyone with any information, please call that phone number on your screen, 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
here now with all the latest on the developments of today. She's the host of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace is back with us. Okay, we have a lot to unpack from what Harvey just said and a lot to unpack from that presser from earlier today. Let's start with Harvey and what we were able to glean from the information he just gave us.
Okay, number one, everything that Harvey Levin just said, I believe. I don't think Harvey ever would or is fabricating anything. So let's take everything he said
Never.
at face value.
Never. He
Number
would never do
two,
it.
we had already deduced that this is from the local area because it targeted local outlets, 2 local outlets and TMZ. And that told me a lot about the sender, where they sent it to. We see another family plea in the last hours from brother Cameron Guthrie, basically reiterating what Savannah said, but much, much more succinctly, stating again, we need to make sure you're real. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think, based on what Harvey has just told us, I don't think that the perp, if this is the perp, is going to have any further communications. Why? Because the more the perp communicates, the more likely it is he's going to get caught, right? The more communications you have, the easier it is to trace. We all know that. On the other hand, what's his alternative? If they're not going, the Guthries are not going to send the money, the Bitcoin, then what's his alternative? The whole thing is a bust. He may be cornered to the point where he does communicate. Now, here's another angle. Here's your deadline. It's 5 p.m. Bam. But, oh, hey, wait a minute. If you don't give me the money by 5 p.m., what about Monday? Would that work for you? See, I find that to be quite the dichotomy. Don't you?
I do and I don't. I mean, I'm paying very close attention, and Harvey using the term, and I've known Harvey for decades like you have. He actually is brilliant. He's great at what he does. He cares about people, and he did the right thing all the way across the board here. But he's saying that this note is saying that if you don't pay the money by the first deadline, he is saying the second deadline is more consequential. That sounds like a worst-case scenario to me, Nancy. You don't have to, graduate from MIT or Harvard Business to figure that out.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there. It sounds like he's saying, and it is a he, it sounds like he's saying, if you don't meet the deadline on Monday, I'll kill her. That's what it sounds like. Because what's the alternative to that? Let's take this through, follow it through to its logical conclusion. What, he's going to kidnap her? He's already done that. He's taken away from her home. He's taken her away from her medications. This, though, this is the thing. What does he know that proves he's real? The location of the Apple Watch? I mean, I would venture to guess it's by her bed charging or at some charging station. But that in conjunction with what he knew about the floodlight and other indicia of reliability makes me think that this is real. So can we get past the is it real question and move on to how do we save Nancy? They may be out the money. If it were me, and I think if it were you, you'd try to pay the money and to hay with what the feds tell you to do. Another thing I noticed, Sean, is that apparently the authorities took out what we call a U-Fed out of Annie's home. It looks like a case on a briefcase. It's a box. And what it is Celebrite. I don't know. I saw it in public for the first time anyway, in the Alex Murdaugh case that was used to get all of his communications, all of his digital communications. It can get encrypted, it can get deleted, it can get cell phone, it can get instant messages, everything. So I know that they are and have probably finished combing through everything that the family had, and that's out of Annie's home. That's normal. But I wonder what it is they're looking for. This is turning into a digital case, Sean. That's what this is.
Well, let's then go to the press conference from earlier today, because there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, the timeline, they had dinner the night before, 1:57 a.m. Then, of course, the pacemaker is disconnected. The security cameras disconnected. All of that's disconnected. Apparently, I guess it wasn't operational. They didn't have a subscription, I read. And it's not late till late the next morning, and we have it up there when she didn't show up at church that, you know, they began to worry about it. So, you know, all the way across the board, what do you glean from that? Because I agree with you. I don't think this guy's going to contact them any other way. This seems premeditated, well thought out, and it sounds like a disciplined attempt, kidnapping, ransom attempt, assuming that's all real.
There's one more thing. She had a spike in her pacemaker at 2 a.m. So you've got them coming home. You have the garage door closing around 9:50, where she is brought home. You have the disconnect, and this is what I'm piecing together happened, Sean. I think the perp came in through the back, comes through the house. I don't know if that woke her up or not. Reaches around because she had that doorbell. It's a Nest, is what it is. Reaches out without getting caught on video and yanking it off, disabling it. That front door cam that we've shown over and over and over. At some point, she's woken up. You see a spike in her heart monitor. The pacemaker spikes, and within 28 minutes, it's no longer syncing. She's out. That doesn't mean it quit working. It doesn't mean she's dead. It doesn't mean it's her heart quit beating. It means that it's 20 feet beyond Bluetooth recognition. That's why a lot of people think, well, okay, she had a heart attack. That did not happen. So in that 28 minutes, she realizes what's happened, and she's out the door.
Let's go back to the bed being removed from the sister's house. Why did you feel that's relevant?
You mean the UFED? The UFED is a Celebrite device that tracks all and downloads all digital data. UFED, it's an acronym for a very long process of getting information from all digital components, everything.
So let me, can I press you on this a little bit and ask, because I think 99% of people don't know what this is. And just to be clear, if you're in your house and if you're on any type of Wi-Fi system, and even if you're using an encrypted app like Signal or WhatsApp, whatever it happens to be, that all that information would be stored on it? Even, let's say if you don't have an iCloud, would it still be stored on it?
You can get everything that has been communicated on a digital device. Specifically, it's a Celebrite Universal Forensic Extraction Device. It can access everything, everything that has passed on your phone, whether you think you're on a VPN virtual browser, private network. It can pick up all communications, all right?
But
it looks like it has been reported in one outlet that they came out with one of those.
Okay, they did that, but then they said very clearly today they have not identified a suspect. They have not identified any person of interest at all in this case.
That's right.
That seemed to be a clear message also.
It did. And a lot of finger pointing going on. And of course, you do look at the family first. And the family knows this. Just like the husband is always the first suspect when a wife goes missing. The family is looked at first. Yes, they're going to look at the sister, her husband, the brother, everybody, even Savannah. They're going to look at them first. And that's what they did, and that was part of that investigation. Now, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're saying, we don't have a suspect. We don't have a POI, person of interest. But, of course, Sean, they always say that. Why? Because once you target someone, all the constitutional protections shroud that person. They never come out and say, oh, yeah, we're looking at Tommy down the street. We think he might have done it. That's not going to happen. So they say, we don't have a suspect. We don't have a POI. On the other hand, they say, everybody's a suspect, and we haven't ruled anybody out. But I find it really hard to believe, very hard to believe, that Annie would sit there And Cameron would sit there knowing or suspecting it's a family member or a relative or even a distant relative, sit there on that video like that begging. I don't believe it. I do not believe it, and I reject it.
I'm with you. I think so far, your commentary has been dead on. Nancy Grace, we really appreciate all the time you've given us. Thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.